All right, ladies, welcome to Docusign Tips, Tricks, and Time Savers. I am Monica Perry, your Market Center Tech Trainer, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. So, a lot of things people don't know they can do in Docusign can actually be things that can save you a lot of time, okay? So, always start in command, number one. Start in command, right? So when you are going to have a transaction, your first duty is to come to command. You're going to log in. You're going to follow that path to get paid that I've shared with you guys previously. We're going to go to command and add our contacts, create the opportunity, pick our document checklist type, which is one of our time savers, and then connect it to Docusign. So we're going to start with that tip first because that does save us time. So we're going to go to command. I'm not going to go over adding a contact. We've already covered that probably for most of you. So we would go and add our contacts here in contacts, and we're going to come into our opportunities handshake, or you can create the opportunity from the contact card, right? I've shown you guys that before. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to come on into my opportunities pipelines here. If our internet will work with us, we'll see what happens. Thinking about it. I'm telling you, ever since we had that really, really bad windy time a couple of weeks ago, like my internet's just not been right. So I don't know what's going on. Okay. So we're going to create an opportunity and pick our opportunity type. I'm just going to look at buyer, and I'm going to pick my client. Boom. If you have a co-client, you can pick the co-client, but for the sake of time, we'll just stick with one. Okay. Put in our commission rate, do all that stuff, change our phase and stage to where they need to be, and then we'll click create. So this is always the first step. You're going to come to your documents tab of your opportunity, and picking this checklist type, I'm going to choose residential. So you're going to see this little teal square next to some of the documents that says DS. That means this is mapped to Docusign. So when you open Docusign, it is going to automatically put those forms into the Docusign room for you, so you don't have to go look through the hundreds of North Carolina Real Estate Commission forms that we have to go through. This way it saves you time, right? That's what today is about. So then you'll see in our under contract folder, you have the offer to purchase. And this is the Winston-Salem checklist, but Chapel Hill, Greensboro, you guys checklist, I have those mapped as well. So it's also going to bring in our affiliated business disclosure and our agent disclosure. And so each office has that mapping completed too, right? So this saves us time because now when we come up to start a transaction, it's automatically going to put those forms into the room for us. Now, on a listing, for example, I did not make the lead-based paint come into the Docusign room because we're only going to need that on a home built prior to 1978. So it's not always going to be needed. So that is a form that you would have to go out and seek. However, this saves a large amount of time. So now you'll see I'm going to start a transaction. I'm going to choose Docusign. If you have the choice, you can choose Docusign. You may only have Docusign connected, so you'll only see the one. It's going to bring me to this login window, and here's a chance for me to give you guys a tip. If you don't see Docusign's window automatically open, it is more than likely because you have a pop-up blocker enabled. So I see this happen on Macs a lot, and up here in this URL bar over on the far right hand side, you will see like a little red X showing you that a pop-up blocker is stopping this window from opening. And Laura, I see your hand up, honey. What's your question?
Hey, I was just wondering, when I go back to start a transaction, when I click that, it gives, for buyer agent 1, it gives me the option of Pro Coach A, MC, something, and then me.
You're
I've been choosing myself, but
That's correct. That's the correct
Okay.
answer. Because
Just making sure.
yeah, because you're on the productivity coaching team, it's set up as a team in Command. So it gives you the option to pick if like, especially if you're on an actual team in a market center, maybe the listing agent's always the co-list, right? So that's why it's giving you that option to choose, but choosing yourself
Okay.
is 100% correct. That's a great question.
All
Any
right. Thank you.
questions? Oh, you're welcome. Ready? Good. Good. Okay. So now when we log in, just remember that pop-up blocker, because I have a lot of people that are like, it doesn't open Docusign for me. Pop-up blocker is what's causing that. Okay. And so now we are in the room. There's those forms that were mapped to show up in your room that had the little DS right there. Okay. And you'll also notice if I click on details here, this pulled in my buyer's information, right? So that I didn't have to do that part. It pulled in his name and email, and it's also got me listed as the buyer's agent here. So that is a time saver as well. Okay. So one thing that we have to touch on is static form templates. So that is our next time saving tip. Okay. Now for static form templates, to get them set up originally, you don't have to go through Command. If you ever want to go directly to Docusign, once you've made this connection, so you'll see this is Dakota Perry Buyer, and in Command, it is also Dakota Perry Buyer, right? They're connected together. Once that connection is made, you can then bypass Command if you're just needing to get into Docusign to get a form or something like that, because the connection is already made. So I'm going to show you guys how you can set up your templates, right? So we're going to take a step back and you're like, okay, I'm going to go set up my templates. Always go to realestate.docusign.com. That is how you get into Docusign rooms, right? So we do have access to Docusign e-signature, okay? That's a separate side of Docusign. And if you go to docusign.com, that is where you're going to go, to the Docusign e-signature platform, which is not what is connected to Command. Okay. So we want to go to realestate.docusign.com. So bookmark that for yourself. And so if you go there, same thing, you're going to log in here on your little home screen, but you didn't have to go through Command. So this way, you're not creating a room or doing anything like that. You're just going to Docusign rooms. Okay. So to set up our static form templates, we're going to come up here to the top to My Docs. So we're going to click on My Docs up at the top. And then we are going to move into Form Templates right below that. Laura, honey, is your hand still up from earlier, or did you have a new question? That's okay. I just wanted to make sure, because you guys are over here. It's fine. You guys are over here on my right-hand side, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Okay, we're going to click on Form Templates and get into this section. And so now keep in mind, for form templates, you are creating these to use for all of your transactions. So we don't put anything transactional detailed into these documents. Okay. We can create one form template at a time. So I'm going to come in here and click this blue Create Form Template. And since we're on the trail of the buyer today, we'll stick there. Okay. So where are we selecting it from? If I leave this on DocuSign Forms Library, when I come down here, I'm going to have access to the North Carolina Association of Realtors forms. I'm going to have access to whichever your specific market center is. You will only see your market center. I'm just happen to be a part of 3, right? And then Winston-Salem and Greensboro, you will see Triad MLS forms. Chapel Hill, you will see Triangle MLS forms. So you're not going to see all of my options. Just keep that in mind. So if I pick NCAR, or the North Carolina Association of Realtors, this is all of our forms. So you can set up templates for as many forms as you want, right? They're all in here. So I will show you guys today the exclusive right to sell. But before I do that, let's talk about picking from the group. If you pick from the group, this is where your market center has pared down the amount of forms you have to go through. So Keller Williams Realty Elite in Winston-Salem, you're going to see KWRE buyer forms, KWRE listing forms. Greensboro is going to see buyer packet residential, listing packet residential. Chapel Hill is going to see these capitalized buyer, new construction, buyer, resale. So these are the different groups that your market centers have set up for you, okay? So again, you're only gonna see your specific market center here. So I'm just gonna pick this one for now. So you're gonna see this is a much shorter list of forms to cull through, right? If you don't know the exact name or the number of the form or something, okay? So I'm gonna pick the exclusive, no, I'm gonna pick the offer to purchase, okay? So let's look at the offer to purchase. I'm going to click use. And we won't go all the way through this because it's a super long form, but I'll show you what these are great for. So anything that happens more than 50% of the time, go ahead and put it in here because it'll save you time. You can edit it later in the specific room if it doesn't apply, but here, this way, you're done, right? So again, no seller information or buyer information or property information because we're going to use this over and over again. No purchase prices or anything like that, right? I'm going to keep coming on down. If you almost always use one specific closing attorney, right? So if I almost always use Randall Perry Law LLC, then I can go ahead and fill them in. If on one specific transaction, the buyer's like, hey, my brother is a closing attorney, you can change it for that one room. But if you almost always use Randall, you can go ahead and put his name in here. That way you don't ever have to type it, right? So again, due diligence period, settlement date, we don't know that stuff, but we're going to keep moving through. Okay. I almost never run into items leased or not owned. It does happen sometimes, but not usually. So I can go ahead and put NA in here. And items that do not convey, I can go ahead and put NA in here. Now, if there happens to be a chandelier that's a family heirloom in the listing that I'm making an offer on, I can edit it for that one specific transaction. Okay. Personal property, I almost always do the refrigerator. So you could put the refrigerator in there, right? So anything that you almost always see, you can go ahead and do it, right? You just keep moving through. I don't usually put an offer in without my buyers receiving, reviewing, and signing the residential property disclosure and the mineral oil and gas rights. So I can go ahead and check those off because I'm very confident that I will have given it to them for my own business, right? So that's good. Almost always the sellers own the property for at least 1 year unless it's a flip. So that's what I usually see. Go ahead and check that off. Lead-based paint, I'm 50-50, so I don't check that one, right? And we just keep sliding through the form and filling in the stuff that we usually see. You guys get kind of the point of where you would go with this. Same for your buyer agency agreement, your listing agreement, professional services disclosure. I fill that one in too, right? So here on this page, selling firm name, I know that it's me. It's my offer to purchase that I'm going to use as an agent. So I can go ahead and put in Keller Williams Realty Elite. I can go ahead and put in C26344 as the company license number and the company's mailing address and my license number, right? I know that this stuff is not going to change, so I can go ahead and fill it in. And then I'm going to click Save and Close up at the top. But before I do that, I wanted to draw your attention to the name up here, right? You can edit this name. So you can set up multiple templates for the same document. So if I have one buyer agent or one offer that's set up for FHA loans, and then I have one type of offer that's set up for a conventional or whatever it is, you can set up multiple templates for the same form as long as you give them a unique name. And then click this little green checkbox. Boop. And that will save it with a specific name, right? So I can say that this is Docusign train the trainer class on 3/29, and that way I know what it is. And it's my offer to purchase. Checkbox, save. Okay. And so go through. I always recommend that you set up buyer agency, working with real estate agents, listing agreement, and your offer to purchase. And I do my professional services disclosure because I had a team of professionals that I almost always used for my transactions. So that was a time saver for me on that, right? So you can choose which forms are right for your business, and set up templates for them right here so that you don't have to worry about it each time that you do a transaction. So I wanted to show you how to set up the template, right? Again, you can do that by going directly to realestate.docusign.com. Does anybody have a question on setting up our form templates, the setting up part?
I do, Monica. I went through and set up made a lot of templates, but I think I used the NCAR forms. Is that okay? Or do I need?
That's
okay.
Just all it is, Laura, is they have broken down all of the NCAR forms into smaller groups for you so that you don't have to look through the whole list. That's all that the difference is between the groups. It's still the same source of documents.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions. Anybody else? We good? Awesome. Okay, so we're going to step back out of creating templates. We're back to our transaction. We've gone to command. We've created our opportunity. We've picked our checklist type. We've opened Docusign, and our forms magically appeared in our room for us, which is great. And now we can apply those templates that we have made. So for my exclusive buyer agency agreement, I'm going to right click it and click apply form template. And then I can pick my buyer agency agreement and apply. Okay. Offer to purchase, apply form template. So here's where those unique names come into play, right? If I have 4 different types of offer to purchase set up, like this one's financing, maybe I have one for cash, right? Here's that one we just set up. So I can pick that one and click apply. Right? Same with pro services. Can apply my form template there like this. So now I'm getting information into my form from my details tab that we looked at. I'm also getting information from my template. So let's open up this exclusive buyer agency agreement. So you're going to see it filled in my buyer's name, right? It got that from the details. It filled in my brokerage information. It filled in the residential bubble for me so that I don't have to type it. So I've got a lot of stuff that's already filled in. My commission percentages, my 45 days after, right? All these check boxes are done for me. My NA is already in that block. So you can see that can save you a lot of time because you don't have to type all this stuff in. So now all I have to do is type in today's date, right? Any pertinent information to a specific transaction, etc., and then save and close the document. So that's how we apply the template. Does anybody have any questions on applying the templates? Good? Cool. Okay. Next up is the use of pre-tagged roles. So if you guys came to boot camp, we talked about this on Tuesday, right? How important it is to use pre-tagged roles. So I'm going to go through once and not use it and show you what it looks like. And then we'll go through the correct way. So if I click my checkbox, maybe I'm getting my exclusive buyer agency signed. Am I working with real estate agents? I just met this buyer. We're not looking at offers yet. We're just getting our buyer agency done. And I click my pen here, okay, to get my signatures completed. If I come into my envelope, which is how we get signatures, give you a few tips here. Always rename your envelope, because if you don't, and you had to put in 5 offers for this buyer, you're going to have 5 different envelopes that say, please Docusign, please Docusign, please Docusign, and you're not going to know what's inside of the envelope. So that not very helpful. So always say, It's the Perry's working with real estate agents and buyer agency agreement, right? That way you know what's inside of this envelope, okay? So now when I go to add recipients, if I do not use pre-tagged roles, maybe I just use room participants and I'm like, okay, Dakota's got to sign this and I have to sign it because it's a buyer agency agreement, okay? And I add us in and I type a little message to Dakota and then I click next. It's going to take me forward into my form so I can see where signatures are going to show up. It's going to get there eventually. Going to give the Docusign and internet a little grace, as Candy Dillard would say. Give it a little grace. There is nothing there. Look at that. No signatures, no initials. So guess what I get to start doing? I get to go, okay, my buyer needs to sign it. Here's his signature, drag and drop. Okay, now my buyer needs to initial this. So I need to grab his initial and I got to drop it and then I got to change it to me and then I got to grab my initial and I got to drop it. Nobody has time for doing all that. Nobody, right? So let's not do that. The other thing we don't do in an envelope is fill in text. Text is handled under our Documents tab, okay? So I'm going to discard this envelope and do it correctly with using pre-tagged roles. So now, instead of doing what I just did, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick my working with real estate agents. I'm under my Documents tab, which is where we fill in text. I'm going to grab this and this. I'm going to hit my pen. I'm going to rename my envelope, as we always should. So I know what's inside. Another thing people don't know that we can do is we can reorder these forms. So if you ever see them in an order that you don't want them to be in, you can drag and drop them from here. And now when I add recipients, I'm going to choose pre-tagged roles. And I'm going to say buyer 1 needs to sign it and buyer 1 is Dakota. The buyer agent needs to sign it and the buyer agent is me. And I'm going to add us to the envelope that way from pre-tagged roles. Again, I'm going to type my little email message to my client and click next. And this time, it's a much happier picture when this opens up because everybody's signatures and initials and dates and all the things that we need to get done here already exist. So you can see in my preview on the right-hand side, there's a blue tag. That's the working with real estate agents. And there's only a blue tag because only the buyer signs. Right? When I work down to exclusive buyer agency, if I'm looking at the preview, there's 2 tags. The gold is me, the blue is my buyer. Boom. His initials, my initials. His initials, my initials. So I don't have to drag and drop all of these sets of initials into this document. Now, page 4 of the buyer agency agreement. And there are several pages in the listing agreement. I believe one is page 7 and one is page 11, where you can see some initials that are hollowed out. They're not solidly filled in with color. That is because they are optional initials. Okay. So you're going to run into some problems with optional initials because there are different personality types. Another thing you can do in Docusign is click preview. And you can look at exactly what your client would see when he got into his documents. And you can even interact. You can say start and sign and initial and initial. And now we're going to be at the bottom of page 3, moving to page 4. Boop, took me right over the top of these optional initials. Okay. So if you're dealing with a D personality like mine, I'm not even going to see those optional initials, because I move fast and more than likely I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to click, 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 click and sign it. And then when you get it back from me and you turn it in, the compliance officers are going to give it back to you and say, your buyer didn't initial their choice of agency on page 4 of the buyer agency agreement. And you're going to have to send it back to them to get it fixed. Don't want to have to do that. Or you're going to run into a high C personality, right? Who's going to be reading through everything. They might figure it out, or they might go, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to sign there, so I'm just not going to sign it. Or you're going to run into somebody that just sees the boxes and goes click, click, click. Also wrong, because they can't initial all three of them. That they butt heads against each other. One saying they desire exclusive representation at all times, and one is saying it's fine for you to represent both sides of the transaction with your office. Doesn't work, right? So instead of doing this to yourself and even causing the option for that to become a problem, go ahead, anytime you see these, you would have already had this conversation, because we're all Keller Williams agents that have these conversations with our clients, right? My client said dual agency was fine. So I'm going to click this one. I'm going to mark it required. I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to click delete on my keyboard. And I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to click delete over here, whichever way you like to delete them. Now only this initial is there, which is much less confusing to all parties. Okay. So that is another one of the tricks and tips within the envelope. Okay, so any questions on this? Everybody feeling good? Awesome. We're going to move on to number 4. I'm just going to discard this. Say you're working with somebody in the market center who is doing your transactions for you. They're doing your paperwork. They're facilitating stuff for you. And you want them to be able to access your documents. Okay. So if you're using like a transaction coordinator, they do have to be a part of Keller Williams. They do have to have a Keller Williams Docusign account in order to do this. Okay. So those are the first 2 rules. So I'm going to go to my people tab in this room. And we're going to share the form access. Okay. So you can see, you'll only see one of these accounts. Like this one's Keller Williams, all of Keller Williams. You're all going to see this. And then this is Greensboro's, this is Chapel Hills, and this is Winston-Salem's. And then you're going to see yourself on all rooms. Okay. But what I can do is I can invite somebody by clicking here. And if they have a Docusign account, I'm going to pick Laura. Is this you, girl? That's you, isn't it? So since Laura has a Docusign account with Keller Williams, I can add her to this room. Okay. We're working on the buyer. She's doing my transaction for me. And I can see the different levels of permission that they get with the different roles in here. Okay. I want her to have the owner permission because I want her to be able to fill in my documents for me. Right. And I can invite her. Now, Laura is in my room under my people. Okay. So that's step 1. Now we're going to click these 3 dots on Laura's name. And I'm going to click share form access. So I can choose, if you're doing like a per transaction coordinator, like normally you do all your own paperwork, but you happen to get 5 listings at one time and you're like, I can't do all this paperwork. And they're helping you with 2 of them. Then you can give them access to only that room, only the one that they're helping with. If it's your actual administrative assistant that's going to be doing all of your transactions, you can give them access to any of your rooms. Okay. And then I can click save. And now Laura has access. Form access shows up right here in the corner. She can come into only this room and help me with facilitating my paperwork. Okay. That's a cool one there, especially for any teams that are watching on YouTube. If you didn't know you could do that, you can. Okay. Everybody feel good on sharing form access? Good. All right. So this one's pretty fun. We're busy people. We're on the go a lot, right? Say this was your listing and somebody sent you an offer in your email and you're like, okay, I'm going to have to get my sellers to sign that as soon as I'm back at my desk, but I don't want to forget to do it. Okay. When you're in Docusign Rooms, I'm going to go back to my dashboard here. Let that load up. Look what I've got up here at the top. I have an inbox. My email in Docusign is monicaperry@mail.docusign.net. If you've not done this yet, you will have to click and accept the email address. Okay. So I would save this as a contact in your email, because if that person sends you an offer, right, then you can go to your email. You're in the car, you're on your phone, whatever, right? And you see that offer hit your email box. You can reply and say, hey, I'm going to get this right back to you in 15 minutes when I'm back at my desk. But you don't want to forget to do it when you get back to your desk. Get into a different email account here. So what you can do, let me find something that's got an attachment. Or I'm just going to make an attachment. Is you can send yourself an email to that Docusign account, and you can type, you know, offer to purchase, because that's what you would just be forwarding the email, but I'm just showing you guys as an example. It would be attached as a PDF to that email. So I'm just going to attach a PDF. Maybe it was a signed offer. So I'm going to grab that offer. Okay. I can send that off. And when I get back to my desk in a little bit, sitting in my inbox is going to be that offer. And it'll come in there in just a minute. We'll give it some time. The way the internet is rolling, it's going to be super slow. So that's one way. You can just email an attached PDF right in, right? I'm going to move into answers.kw.com so that you can see some of the other options that you have with emailing and all their rules. And just to remind you about answers.kw.com. It's got so much knowledge in there, right? So email, documents, or communication to your Docusign account. Here's some other stuff we can do. I showed you one example. There's that offer to purchase coming in as an attachment to my email. It's going to pull that document into my room. Okay. I can also, in the subject line, if I have that room's identifying number, I could put that room ID into the subject line. That's cool and all, but probably not something I personally am going to be using on the go, because I'm not going to remember that, right? But if you put pound and the room's identifying number, it will go directly into that room instead of going into your inbox. Okay. But even better, and the one that I love the most, is moving down here. Add email content to your Docusign inbox. So one thing that they tell us in real estate school and all the consecutive classes that we have after that, that scare me personally to death, because I'm like, oh, I want to follow all the rules, right? You can take email correspondence, because we're supposed to save it. If y'all didn't know that you're supposed to save email correspondence, you are, right? You can type hashtag or pound sign, whichever one you know it as, right? Depending on what generation you are, into the subject line with the word PDF behind it and forward it to your Docusign email, and it will save all of the text from that email as a PDF in your Docusign room. So that way you have all of the email correspondence that you have for a transaction forward it, hashtag PDF in your subject line to your Docusign email, and it will put it into Docusign for you. Or you could do hashtag PDF and hashtag room identifying number, and it will put it directly into that specific room. Right? Super cool. So this article is here. I'm going to drop this article into the chat for you guys so you can use it later. If you're watching us on Zoom, I will put it into the, or if you're watching us on YouTube, rather, I will put it into the details of the YouTube video when I post this video. So that's super cool right there. Love, love, love that. All right, so hopefully now that we've talked about those, yeah, there it is. So here is that document that I emailed myself. So now that I'm back at my desk, I can hit this little bubble. I have a button that says move. I can move it into an active room. I can search for it. I know that it's the most recent one, so I'm going to click move. And now that put it right into that room that we were working on. And I can take any actions that I need to take from that spot, which is super cool. I'm going to move into a test room that I have here. Let me find it. This might be it right here. It is not. I'll just do a search. You can also search through your rooms if you have one you're specifically looking for. Docusign class. I think that might be it. I think it's this one. No, it's not. I always find that room. I don't know why I can't find it today. Anyway, I have an example of where the email text gets saved in there. But you know, it works just like you would think it would work. It yes. So there you go. So here's the PDF of that saved text from an email, right? So that's what that looks like. But since we're in this room, look at all these pretty folders. Okay. You can create folders in your Docusign room. So one thing we run into a lot right now is my buyers put an offer on this house. They didn't get the house. Now I got to write a new offer, but I got to save this offer because I wrote the offer and now I have to save it for compliance, right? So you can come up here to the actions button and you can add a folder and you can say, you know, failed transaction on 123 Main Street, or however you want to word it, offer not accepted, whatever it is, and you can create this folder. And then any documents you sign for that one, you can drop them into that folder, and then you can collapse the folder so that it's not in your way, because a lot of people hate all those, you know, different, like this one, for example, has 37 documents in it. So nobody wants to see all this craziness. All these certificates from where stuff got signed, right? You can create a folder for your certificates. Okay, so what if you wanted to do action, add a folder, signing certificates like this, can create that folder. And now I can go, okay, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, right? If you're getting a bunch of stuff signed, then you're going to have all these certificates. Oh, why didn't we do that? Close. But you can check all these certificates off like so. And you can drag them if I didn't have so many, but you can also click the move button and say, okay, I want to move to a folder in the current room. And it's going to be those signing certificates, and I can move all those documents out of my way. So now it reloads itself, and here's my signing certificates folder. So I can stick all those there, and then I can collapse that folder, and I don't have to look at them all anymore. Cool. That's one of my favorite things because I can't stand all this happening in one spot. Okay, let's see. What are we looking at next? One thing that we no longer have that I had to remove, we used to have faxing in here, so I had to remove that from my class. They took faxing away. Obviously, nobody uses it. It's 2022. If you ever did short sales, like I did, you had to use fax a lot. Big old thick packets that you had to take to like a printer shop to send them in because your home scanner didn't do it, didn't take enough of the paper, and they wanted it in one scan. It was super fun. Those were just such fun days. All right, so we're going to move back into that room that we were working on. Don't forget, in command, you can always click, now that you have this opportunity linked, go to transactions. So as you get tons of transactions going, sometimes it's just easier to click it straight from the opportunity, and it's going to take you back to that specific room. So our next tip is going to come in this offer that we just submitted, right? This happens a lot. If you haven't seen it, you will. So why is that not opening? Hold on. Open the document. I don't know why it's not opening this document. It just wants to give me a hard time. It's because I try to combine the PDFs, but we'll just pretend it's a different one. So a lot of times agents will send you the offer, the disclosures all together in one scan, right? They're just one document. And when you go to turn stuff in command, guess what? It's broken up into separate documents because compliance wants to check one document and say, this document is good and it's done. So you can't turn them in together like that. So one thing that you have here in Docusign, let me get some of these windows closed, is the ability to split up these PDFs. So I need to move into one where I have a PDF version. Open this one back up of a document. I will just take I know why I did that now. This offer to purchase, right? It would be in a PDF form if somebody emailed you something. And there it is. So now that it's open and I'm looking at it and that buyer signed it, now I got to get my seller to sign it, and I start scrolling and I go, oh man, that agent scanned everything all together. I can come up here to this document actions button and I can split it. Boop. And I can say, okay, this one's the offer to purchase, and its pages, it would be 1 through 15, but for the purposes of this, it's a 15-page document. It's pages 1 through 10, and then the North Carolina residential property disclosure is page 11, 12, 13, 14, 11 through 14, and then the mineral oil and gas rights is page 15, right? Because that's the way they sent it to me. It was always one document, and I can click save, and it's going to split all those out for me. It's going to maintain the original, okay? But here's that offer to purchase. Here's the North Carolina residential property disclosure that I just created. Here's the mineral oil and gas rights, so that when I come back here to attach them into their appropriate spaces, that I actually have the documents the way that they're intended to be added to the system. Cool? Makes sense? Very good. All right. One last tip, and then if we have enough time, and if you guys want to see it, I will show you. Hopefully everybody can see my phone. Everybody's always like, but I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I know. And right now, because I hadn't had one of these meetings in such a long time, my Docusign committee, which is a national committee, is actually meeting. And I was like, oops, I have a class scheduled over the top of this meeting, but we haven't had one in a long time, so it wasn't my fault. One of our top agenda items is creating you guys an app that will work, because the Docusign app is Docusign e-signature. It is not Docusign rooms. Okay. I know it's unfortunate. I know it's annoying. And Docusign has hurt us. Most technology companies don't listen to their customers and what they want and rebuild platforms around them. That is what Docusign is doing. So they hear us and they're going to fix it. Until then, best practice, if you need to do something on your phone, do not download the Docusign app because it's the wrong side of Docusign. Still always start in command. If you didn't start in command, the way I was moving the files around, if you had to start in Docusign for some reason, you can move the files to the created room through command later. So just remember that. But instead of downloading the app, you're just going to go to your web on your phone, and you're going to go to realestate.docusign.com to the website. Okay, right here. I can't speak to Apple because I'm an Android person, but I know there is a way to do it on Apple. I just don't know the steps. But on my phone, I am now going to click these three dots, and I'm going to click add to home screen. Okay. And that is going to give you a little thing that looks like this. Docusign Rooms, and it's got my little Google Chrome thing in the corner. So it's just like an app, right? And when I click it, it takes me right here, and I can log in to my Docusign account from my phone with all my same login credentials. It's going to get me logged in. There's all that same stuff we were just looking at. Okay, so if I needed to come in here, is it the best way to do it? No. Everything's truncated in size, so all the buttons are moved around a little bit. But you can still do it, right? You can still get through your stuff. You can still collapse folders. You could still take this and hit the pen and get it signed and all the things. It's just not as easy to do as it is on the computer, right? Me personally, I have a smaller laptop intentionally because for movability purposes. I just hook my phone internet service up to my laptop, and I just do it on the computer when I'm with somebody in person. But if you need to do it for mobile, for now, here's how you can do it. Again, same steps, you know, name your envelope, come down, you're going to add recipients from pre-tagged roles, you know, who's signing it, who is that person, click, 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 and then you're going to go next, and then you're going to get your signatures. Let me actually add somebody to this. Here we go, pre-tagged roles. I'll just do seller one, and I'll just say it's me. I'm going to add the selected person. There it is. There's my email spot. I'm going to click next. The preview is where it really looks kind of funky. So we'll let it make its way there so you guys can see what I mean. It just looks funky, like it's off. You know, I mean, and I know that it's annoying. It's a pain. I get it. They're building us an app. So it is what it is. You can still send it right from here and hit send in the upper corner. You can usually turn your phone, but my phone's being weird because I'm casting it to my computer, but you can usually turn it and see it, you know, sideways better. but that's how you do it on your phone. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to show you, I think I have time to do it. This actually is one of the updates we're going to get sooner rather than later. A lot of the e-signature platform stuff, people miss in Docusign rooms, like the ability to do in-person signing, right? So yes, you could just send it to your clients and they can go in their cell phone nowadays. But if you're trying to be super professional looking and have your computer and you want them to be able to click through it and you want to do in-person signing, I want to show you guys how to do it. So you're going to take all the same steps you usually would. Contact and command, opportunity, start a transaction, create the transaction, apply your form templates while you're sitting there talking with them, right? And let me get back to this one. Close some of this down. So you would do all the same stuff you're usually doing. And so now I've already had this stuff signed. We just need to sign this offer. I'm going to do all the steps. Pen. Let the pen go. And do its thing. I'm going to create my envelope. I'm going to name my envelope whatever its appropriate name should be. In-person signing. Offer to purchase. Okay. I'm going to add the recipients from pre-tagged roles. It is going to be buyer 1, Dakota, add. He's the only one signing it because it's the offer. Okay. And now that I've done this, I'm just going to click save and close. It's a draft. Okay. I'm going to click here in this upper right corner, and I'm going to switch over into that e-signature platform. And from my e-signature platform, you'll see it looks a little bit different when you get there. It looks like this. I'm going to click manage up at the top. And over here on the left-hand side, I have my drafts. Okay. And so here's that draft. I'm going to click the checkbox. I'm going to come over here to this little block and click continue. It knew that Dakota was signing it. Okay. So I'm going to drop this and change him to an in-person signer. And then I'm going to move through. I don't need to do an email subject. I'm just going to go to next. I'm the host. Sorry, forgot that part. Next. And then I'm going to hit send. I'm going to say sign now. And it's going to say, Monica Perry assigned you as the host for an in-person signing session for Dakota Perry. As the host, you're going to pass control of the signing session to the hosted signer. Blah, 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 blah. Right? You're going to click start. And it's going to say, Monica, pass control to Dakota. Slide the laptop over. And then Dakota can click continue. It's going to open the document and he can sign it right there on the spot from my laptop. He's going to agree. He's going to continue. He's going to start. This is what it looks like when he gets it in an email. He's going to need to adopt and initial. And then he can go through and just sign away like he would be doing in an email situation. But he's doing it from your computer right there in front of you. And he finishes, and he can request to get a copy in his own email, right? And then pass the control back to Monica Perry. He's going to pass me back the computer. I'm going to click continue. It's going to be completed, and then I'm going to have it in my Docusign room. So if you wanted to do in-person signing, like sitting at a conference table or something, for now, that is how you do it. They are going to build it into Docusign rooms. That's one of the next things that they're working on doing. That and some other features and functionalities that are only available in Docusign e-signature. And that, my dears, is all 7 of my Docusign tips, tricks, and time savers. I hope that you found them helpful. And do we have any questions? We have 3 minutes left.
Is this going to be, I mean, where will this be? Just on the YouTube channel?
Yep. So Laura, if you go to, and it's been a week, so have grace with me because I didn't update my.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I just missed a step somewhere.
kwtriadtech.com. I didn't update this calendar is what I'm talking about right here that says that I have class right now. Over here in the center where it says subscribe to my YouTube, if you ever forget how to get there, you can just click this and it takes you straight to my YouTube channel. And hopefully go ahead and click that subscribe button and the little bell right there. And when I post stuff, it'll ding you and say Monica Perry just posted to you.
I think I've subscribed. I kind of missed a step somewhere on doing the in-person signing, so I'll go back and watch it.
Yeah, and don't forget answers.kw.com. Where I learned to do it. They gave us directions on how to do it, and I was like, ooh, I want to try to do that. And so I tested it out. And so on there, it's got like a whole Docusign. I mean, it's got a section for everything, but
cool.
Docusign in person. If you just like search that, set up in-person signing.
Okay.
Got a little awesome there for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Anything else? Any other questions? We good? All right. Well, I will get this posted. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming today. And I hope you're doing good and staying warm. It's cold and gross out there. And I have to go to baseball this evening in the cold, gross weather. But hopefully we get warmed back up soon. All right.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see
you too.